Hello guys, today we'll study about tuberculosis of spine, the examination and treatment and complications. Examination. Aim of the examination is to pick up findings suggestive of tuberculosis of spine, to localize the site of lesion, to find skip lesions, and to detect any associated complications like cold abscess or paraplegia. Gait. First of all is gait, short steps in order to avoid jerking the spine. In this picture, we can see the girl is taking short steps. In TB of cervical spine, patient supports his head with both hands under the chin. Second is tenderness. Tenderness is elicited by pressing upon the side of the spinous process in an attempt to rotate the vertebra. Okay. The third one is paravertebral swelling. A superficial cold abscess may present as fullness or swelling on the back, along the chest wall, or anteriorly. It is easy to diagnose because of its fluctuant nature. Sometimes an abscess may be tense and it may not be possible to elicit fluctuation. Needle aspiration may be performed in such cases to confirm the diagnosis. Here we can see this is a paravertebral swelling or paravertebral abscess. This is the anterior abscess, and this is the abscess along the on the swelling on the back along the chest wall or anterior. So this is the chest wall, this is anteriorly, and this is paravertebral. The next one is attitude and deformity. Stiff, straight neck in TB of cervical TB of spine. In upper cervical disease, there is wry neck. This posture of the neck is known as wry neck. In lumbosacral, Alderman's gait, which is the short steps that we talked about in the previous slide. This is the Alderman gait in the video. Just a second. As you can see, the patient was taking short steps. Actually, this patient is recovered 1 month after the TB, so he's a bit recovered. That's why he's taking some long steps, but Alderman's gait is very short steps. In lower lumbar, pronounced lordosis. This lordosis is exaggerated lumbar curve. This is the lumbar curve. In dorsal spine TB, part of spine becomes prominent, gibbous or kyphus. We'll see gibbous or kyphus over here. So this is kyphus or kyphosis. This is gibbous. There are three types of kyphotic deformities. First one is knuckle. In knuckle, there is prominence of one spinous process. There is no photo of knuckle actually. Second one is gibbous, prominence of 2 to 3 spinous processes. This is gibbous, and there is prominence of 2 to 3. Here we can see that there is prominence of 1 and 2 spinous processes. The third one is kyphus. Kyphus is actually of two types. First one is angular kyphus. There is prominence of 3 to 4 vertebrae. And second is rounded kyphus, where there is prominence of more than 4 vertebrae. So in this photo, we can see kyphus. There is prominence of more than 3 vertebrae actually. More than 3 vertebrae are prominent. In this picture, we'll get to know that in kyphus there is deformity where the person leans forward, and in lordosis there is deformity when the patient is backwards. The next one is movement. Spinal movements are limited and are painful due to protective muscular spasm. These are the movements: flexion, extension, right and left side bending, and right and left rotation. The next one is neurological examination. Uh, Aim of the neurological examination is to detect any neurological compression, level of neurological compression, and severity of neurological compression. The examination should involve full assessment of muscle wasting, fasciculation, tone, power, coordination, proprioception, sensation, and reflexes. In addition to motor, sensory, and reflexes examination, assessment should be made of urinary or bowel function also. Then is general examination. General examination is done to detect any active or healed primary lesion, and other systemic illness like diabetes, hypertension, jaundice, etc. should be checked for no hindrance in further treatment. Radiological investigation. The first one is X-ray examination. Minimum of two views, anteroposterior and lateral, are necessary. Chest X-ray for primary focus, or an X-ray of the abdomen, which is KUB or kidney ureter bladder X-ray, if psoas abscess is suspected, may also be taken. Some of the radiological features are: the first one is reduction of disc space. This is the earliest sign in paradiscal type of TB. In early stages, this one is early stage. In early stages, reduction in disc space may be minimal, and may be detectable only on comparing the height of the suspected disc with those above and below it. But in advanced stages, the disc space, this is the advanced stage. In advanced stages, the disc space may be completely lost. Reduction of disc space is important sign because in other diseases of spine, the disc space is well preserved. The second one is destruction of vertebral body. In early stages, contiguous margins of the affected vertebrae may be eroded. The diseased weakened vertebra may undergo wedging. In late stages, significant part or whole of the vertebrae body may be destroyed. Here we can see that in this picture, we can see that the majority part of the vertebra is destroyed, leading to angular or kyphotic deformity. Severity of the deformity depends upon extent of the wedging and number of affected vertebrae. Next is evidence of cold abscess. Paravertebral abscess. Paravertebral soft tissue shadow corresponding to the site of the affected vertebra in anteroposterior view indicates a paravertebral abscess. It may be of following types. First is fusiform paravertebral abscess or bird nest abscess, an abscess whose length is greater than its width. This is a fusiform abscess. And the second, here it is, fusiform abscess. The second one is the globular or tense abscess, an abscess whose width is greater than its length. This one is the tense abscess or globular abscess. Globular indicates pus under pressure and is commonly associated with paraplegia. The second one is widened mediastinum. An abscess from the dorsal spine may present as widened mediastinum on anteroposterior X-ray. Third one is retropharyngeal abscess in cervical spine. In cervical spine TB, retropharyngeal abscess may be seen on lateral X-ray. This is the retropharyngeal abscess. And the fourth one is psoas abscess in dorsolumbar and lumbar TB. Psoas shadow on X-ray of the abdomen may show a bulge. Next one is rarefaction. There is a diffuse rarefaction of vertebra above and below the lesion. We have already seen that. Unusual signs in TB involving the posterior complex. There may be erosion of posterior elements of pedicle, lamina, etc. There are better visible on oblique X-rays of the spine. This is the oblique X-ray of lumbar spine. Anterior type of vertebral TB may show erosion of the anterior part of body termed as aneurysmal sign. This is the aneurysmal sign. Sorry. This is the aneurysmal sign where the vertebra of the vertebral TB is showing erosion of the anterior part of body. There may be lytic lesions in the ribs and the vicinity of affected vertebra. Signs of healing. Once the disease starts healing, the density of the affected bone gradually improves. Areas surrounding the lytic lesion show sclerosis, and over a period of time, these lesions are replaced by sclerotic bone. The adjacent vertebrae undergo bony fusion. First was X-ray, then now a CT scan. CT scan, it may detect small vertebral or small paravertebral abscess not otherwise seen on main X-ray. They may indicate precisely the extent of destruction of vertebral body and posterior elements, and may show a sequestrum or a bony ridge pressing on the cord. This is a CT scan for vertebral TB. Next one is MRI, investigation of choice to evaluate the type and extent of compression of cord. Because the image of MRI is so clear, that's why it shows condition of the underlying neural tissue and thus helps in predicting the prognosis in a particular case. This is MRI in a case of vertebral TB. Then is myelograph. The myelography in myelography is indicated in cases presenting with spinal tumor syndrome, or when the clinical level of neurological deficit does not correspond to radiological level of lesion. The next one is biopsy. A CT guided needle biopsy or an open biopsy may be required in a case with doubtful diagnosis. The next one are other general investigations like ESR, Montauk's test, ELISA test for detecting anti-TB antibodies, chest X-ray, etc. to support the diagnosis of TB. Next is treatment. Aim of the treatment is to achieve the healing of the disease and to prevent detection early and treat promptly any complication like paraplegia or cold abscess, etc. Treatment consists of anti-TB chemotherapy, general care, care of spine, and treatment of cold abscess. The first one is anti-TB chemotherapy. Rifampicin, isoniazid, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol are given for 3 months. But in selected cases with multifocal TB, 5 drugs, rifampicin, isoniazid, pyrazinamide, ethambutol, and streptomycin are required for initial period. Then rest is taken, and building up of the patient's resistance is advised to the patient. Next is general care. In general care, proper positioning of the joint, mobilization, exercising, and weight bearing are the main factors affecting it. Then the care of the spine, rest. A short period of bed rest for pain relief may be sufficient during early stages of treatment. In cases with significant vertebral destruction, a longer period of bed rest is desirable to prevent further collapse and pathological dislocation of diseased vertebrae. Then is guarded mobilization. As the patient improves, he is allowed to sit and walk while spine is supported in a collar for the cervical spine. The patient is weaned off brace once bony fusion occurs. The last one is treatment of cold abscess. A small cold abscess may subside with anti-TB treatment. Abscesses presenting superficially is given treatment by first is aspiration. A thick needle is required because often there is thick caseous material. It should be anti-gravity insertion with the needle entering through a zigzag tract. The second one is evacuation. In this procedure, the cold abscess is drained, its word curated, and the wound closed without a drain. Thank you.